And welcome back to Inside IUE Sports. I'm now joined by IUE's track and field junior and also the SAC President, which we'll talk about more in a moment, Dustin Reynolds. So Dustin, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, let's learn a little bit about you to start out with. You're from Delta High School, which is around the Muncie area, about an hour from IU East. You've had some options. You were academic All-State in football. You were team MVP in track. So talk about how you decided on IU East and also how you decided that track and field would be the sport you'd go after.
Overall, I really just didn't want to quit being an athlete. I mean, that's one of my biggest enjoyments in high school, so I didn't want to quit that. I actually originally was supposed to go to Purdue. I had pretty much fully committed to go to Purdue, not for a sport or anything, just academically. And I had gotten in contact with Coach Dave Sanders, who was here my freshman year, and kind of just talked to him, talked about the process of visiting and becoming a part of the team here. And I visited a couple times and just really enjoyed it. And I thought, you couldn't really beat it, getting still an IU degree for a fraction of the price at Bloomington, and I still got to be an athlete. So really, I got everything I wanted, and I couldn't be happier with my decision.
So you're in your third year in the track and field program now. I was looking back through your records. Your first year tried your hand at quite a few events. Starting last year, it looks like really narrowed down on the 800 in particular. So just talk about the process where you realized that it's a race you've been all conference in, how you realized kind of that'd be your race.
Well, it really, starting out, wasn't my decision. I remember specifically freshman year before outdoor conference, me and a couple of teammates were just sitting around, and Sage Henderson, who used to be on the team, we were talking, and he's like, you know what, Dustin, I think you might be good at the 800. He's like, you should probably try that for conference. And I was like, that sounds like a horrible idea. And but long story short, I talked to Coach Dave, and he put me in it, and I turned out to be halfway decent. So ever since then, Coach Gus has been putting me in it. So,
and for maybe those that don't do track and field, I did a little bit of it, and basically the 800 is the longest race in which you have to sprint the whole time. There's really no backing off, and you got to basically go all out for 2 laps. So, which sounds like absolutely no fun to me. just how do you survive?
Well, it's we break it down by each quarter, so each 200 meters, and really you have a goal for each 200 meters. You have splits, so you just want to hit each time for each 200 meters. So I just keep that in my head. Don't think of it as 800 meters. Think of it as 4 200 meters. So I feel like if I just hit those times, it'll turn out better for me.
Right. It'll add up to something nice in the end. Yeah. As I've learned more about track and field, the difference between the indoor 800 and the outdoor, obviously it's a smaller track, but it looks like there's more things going on maybe the indoor than the outdoor version. Do you have a preference of the two? You've been all conference at both, I believe. But
outdoor, definitely outdoor. Just for the simple fact, because indoor track is smaller, and the 800 you're not in lanes the whole time, so you can bump and elbow, and outdoor you have a lot more space to pass and make moves. So that's one of the biggest things for me.
Gotcha. So I can see it going both ways. That bump and elbow, another.
Yeah.
But definitely good to have some free room to ride. So yourself, what do you consider your track and field highlight to be so far?
Actually, just this past weekend, I got to be a part of the A-Team 4x4 that broke the school record, which was super humbling for me because the other 3 guys, Will Mundy, Jordan Maxwell, and Jamal Stevens, the fastest guys I've ever ran with. So it's just a super humbling experience for me to be able to be a part of that.
And I hadn't seen the report yet. What was your split on that?
51-1.
So definitely holding up your end of the bargain and helping break that record.
Trying to.
Okay. And then your specialty is the 800. Any particular highlight specifically in the 800 that we should be sure to mention?
I think last year placing second in indoor conference because it was my first year really running the 800 consistently, and that was just such a shock for me because I started the season not super fast, and I PR'd and just kept listening to Coach Gus, and come conference time, being able to be all conference was just incredible.
Your team, you're on the road every weekend, basically from the start of December to the end of the year, so a lot of traveling involved. Any particular favorite trip that stands out in your mind, either for performance reasons or the things you enjoyed about the trip itself?
Myrtle Beach. Who doesn't love going to the beach? So I think anyone on the team, that's probably their favorite trip too, because it's fun. It's a fun experience, and the meet is competitive. It's hosted by D1 school, so a lot of D1 schools there. It's competitive. It's the first outdoor meet of the season. There's just a lot of factors, for me at least, that make it my favorite.
Gotcha. As you said, who doesn't enjoy a trip to Myrtle Beach for spring break time? So you're definitely a student athlete as well. Academics, talk about your major and your career plans once you're done with your degree here.
Well, I'm a business administration major with a concentration in accounting and a minor in financial forensic investigations. I enjoy it a lot. Right now, my plans are, after I graduate, to hopefully get in with some kind of federal law enforcement agency, whether that be doing field work or doing analytics, something like that. I'm passionate about the criminal justice side of accounting and finance and things like that.
You mentioned the financial forensic investigations minor. I've seen that pop up with a lot of our athletes in the last couple of years. For those that maybe haven't attended IU East, a little more detail what that minor is, what that entails. It sounds fascinating.
It is, yeah. I love it. It's basically it's a series of more criminal justice focused accounting classes. You take some basic criminal justice classes, and then once it kind of evolves, you take more accounting focused criminal justice classes that deal with auditing and fraud and white-collar crime and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. So again, it's a newer thing, I believe, here. So I was good to hear from someone who's experiencing
Mm-hmm.
it, what that's like. So this new role for you this year, you took on the role of SAC President. Basically, that means you took on another job, because I know there's a lot that goes into that. But talk about the process that got you in the role of SAC President.
Well, normally, prior to each school year, we would like the previous year, we would vote our executive board members in, which is president, vice president, community service chair, treasurer, public relations chair. We would vote those in. We were a little bit behind the game coming into this year, so we didn't really have anyone voted in. So Coach Selhorse, who is our advisor for the committee, she just kind of asked if anyone was interested in taking these roles. And no one else, I don't think, nominated themselves, so I nominated myself for it, and we voted, and that was that.
Hey, I wish all elections were so
Yeah.
easy. I don't want to mess up the acronym. It's Student Athlete Advisory Committee?
Yes.
Okay, so I believe there's 2 athletes per sport on this committee that does a lot of things. First off, we'll talk about your own role. Again, to me, knowing what you have to do, it's like holding down another job, but your responsibilities as the SAC President.
A lot of it, it's really not too bad. A lot of it is just delegating, which I'm super thankful for my executive board and the rest of the committee for, because they're great all year long. They've done phenomenal work, and really, it's really just keep the group organized. That's the biggest thing for me. So when we meet, I have an agenda. This is what we need to talk about. This is what we need to get done in the next couple weeks. And usually everyone's on top of things. So it's really not a whole lot of work for me.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. With all the help you've had, some of the things that SAC has accomplished this year.
My favorite things, which we've done a lot, my favorite things is the community service. Just recently we helped with Special Olympics, their track practices. We went over to Richmond High School and just ran with them, timed them, whatever they needed help with. We've also a few times gone over to help the animals and walk dogs, which who doesn't love walking dogs? Yeah, that was one of my favorites too. There's also, this is way earlier in the school year, the 3rd graders from, I think it was Randolph County, came for basically like a field day type thing, and we helped with that, just play with them, we ate lunch with them, and that was really enjoyable too.
Okay. And when you do community service and things like that, in my experience, you always gain things that you never expected you'd gain yourself. So what things do you feel like you've gained in this role and doing these activities that you've done?
Just a sense of caring about the community. I think a lot of the time when people think of college students, we're so wrapped up in our own lives, but it's just been nice to really get a fresh outlook on the Wayne County community and where help is needed and where we can fill those needs. So that's been nice for me, at least.
All right, coming up on kind of crunch time or the key moments of track and field season. So conference meet coming up in a little bit, and IU East, it's at Eaton High School in Ohio, but we are the host school. So just talk about the mindset of both yourself and the team going into the conference meet.
Yeah, I'm super excited. One, because it's conference, and conference is always when people run their best times. It's competitive. It's the end of the season. But also because we'll have one of the biggest crowds we've ever had, if not the biggest crowd. They're supporting us, so I'm super excited. I know the rest of the team is. I think it'll be a good meet.
Okay. And you've got basically the rest of this season plus your senior year. Talk about some of your goals moving forward in track and field, either certain times or accomplishments, just your goals for the next year ahead.
Mm-hmm. The goal always is nationals. That's always the end goal. That's what Coach Gus teaches us. And then leading up to that point is just PR every meet, get faster and faster, even if it's just a little bit. So I don't really have, besides hitting nationals in something, I don't really have any big goals. Just keep getting faster each meet. Just keep progressing.
Right,
So.
and it's something you've definitely done so far to date here at IU East. So congratulations on everything so far, and best luck moving forward.
Thank you.
That was Dustin Reynolds, a member of the IU East track and field team and also the SAC president here at IU East. That concludes this episode of Inside IU East Sports. We're so grateful that you've joined us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.